It's time for the Coach's Corner Show with your host, Pat Disabato.
Hello and welcome to the Coach's Corner Show, brought to you by Beggar's Pizza. I'm your host, Pat Disabato from the Southtown Star newspaper. And hey, we are here, Beggar's Pizza, 127th Street in Kedzie in Blue Island. I got a little deep dish here. We got a little thin crust here. Life is good. And you know who the happiest person of all is? Cameraman Gerard Grabowski. He can't wait to tear into this pizza. And another guy that's very happy about this, beyond myself and Gerard, our guest this week, Mike Clark, assistant prep sports editor of the Chicago Sun-Times. We are going to have a playoff football extravaganza for you folks. Sit back, relax. Got a couple experts here. Mike, I'll give Mike the props, a little bit more expert than I am, but we're going to have a lot of fun here, so sit back and enjoy. We are going to go to a Beggar's Pizza timeout. When we return, Mike Clark, Chicago Sun-Times assistant prep sports editor, will be our guest. And hey, Halloween is this week, folks. Come on into Beggar's Pizza. Decorated. It's unbelievable. Very ghoulish. Very ghoulish. All right. See you in a little bit.
We came up with a bunch of clever commercial ideas to entice you into trying Beggar's Pizza. We decided to let the food speak for itself.
I'm a pepperoni sausage, green peppers and onions. Don't forget the extra cheese, large pizza. Oh, by the way, I also make house calls. Beggar's Pizza. We lay it on thick.
For over 60 years, Standard Bank has been a part of your neighborhood, supporting sports and other activities, working with communities as they grow and thrive, helping businesses and families to reach their financial goals. In communities all over Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana, your neighborhood is our neighborhood. We can help you reach your financial goals. To learn about products like Check Free, our super secure service that saves you time and money and makes it easy to pay your bills online, visit standardbanks.com. Member FDIC.
Having surgery or dealing with some type of nagging pain that limits your function? Then get to Athletics. We offer treatment for all types of orthopedic injuries, work-related injuries, and sports injuries. Therapists with over 20 years of experience provide treatment that is efficient and effective. Our 2,000 square foot clinics offer state-of-the-art equipment from HydroTrack, Blankenship, and Biodex. If your doctor suggests physical therapy, then you suggest Athletics, where every patient is treated like a champion.
All right, welcome back to the Coach's Corner Show, brought to you by Beggar's Pizza. And you're looking at one of Beggar's Pizza's delicious deep dishes. Right next to it, its partner over here in crime, little thin crust sausage and cheese. Lay it on thick. And remember, until the end of the month, buy a family pizza, you get a free small cheese pizza at any location, Beggar's Pizza, all right? All right, folks, it's playoff football time. Our guest brought in one of the experts, Mike Clark, assistant prep sports editor of the Sun-Times. Mike, thanks for coming on board, buddy.
Thanks for being here.
And good to see that you got the memo. We're wearing blue sweaters today, you and I. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Gerard just noticed that. He just figured that out, our cameraman, Gerard. So, all right, Mike, let's do some dissecting here. You and I have seen dozens of games this year. Let's begin in 8A, because that's right in your wheelhouse. 8A, right?
I hope so.
All right, what do you see here in terms of, what do you think is the best first round game? Who are some teams that you think we should look out for?
For best first round game, there's a couple of interesting ones that kind of jump out at you. I would say probably Waubonsee Valley, Naperville North. Naperville North, they played a pretty tough schedule this year. They're one of the teams that knocked off Wheaton South early in the season. Waubonsee is a team that's kind of been under the radar a little bit. They were really good last year. They had a really good running back, Austin Guido, who had like 2,500 yards, something like that. This year, they're a little bit different team, more of a passing team. So Waubonsee is a team that maybe a lot of people are overlooking at this point, but they should be there down the road. I think the round you need to look at, though, is the second round, because we could have Glenbard North and Stevenson.
Yep.
I wrote about this in the Sun-Times. A lot of people think that could be a state championship caliber game. Stevenson, I liked them a lot at the beginning of the year. I had them at number 2, actually, in the preseason Super 25. They lost a couple of games early. They lost their best lineman, but they've won 7 in a row, beat Lake Zurich in Week 9. Glenbard North, they're a team that I don't understand why they don't get more respect. I mean, they've been to the semis or beyond 4 times in the last 6 years.
Yep.
They've got the best player in the state, Justin Jackson, who the last 2 years he's got over 5,000 rushing yards and 68 touchdowns, and he's a really good defender going to Northwestern. And I mean, when you think about the playoffs, you kind of look at, okay, what teams are built to win in November, and I think they're pretty well built for that.
Locally down here on the south side, Bloom, great that they made it to the playoffs. Their reward is a first-round match against Bolingbrook, undefeated Bolingbrook, winners of the Southwest Suburban Blue. And you like Bolingbrook a lot, don't you, Mike?
I do. Their defense is really tough, including Tuff Borland, the sophomore, who has one of the great football names of recent years. But, I mean, you go down the line, Parker Westfall is a big-time senior recruit. I mean, their defense is really good. Their offense is kind of a pounded out. It's not real flashy, but, they have a tendency to get the job done. Jaden Huff is a really good running back, and running behind their line, they seem to get the job done. So I do like Bolingbrook.
And a team that's got a little bit additional pressure on them is Marist, because they've had 3 one-and-dones in a row in the postseason. They open up at home. They have a Plainfield South team. But I think if Marist defense comes to play, because their offense, I think you'll agree, pretty much second to none in terms of firepower, that's a team that could make some noise.
Well, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, and with Flynn Nagel and Nick Wisher playing on defense, I mean, it's a move that I don't know that they wanted to give them a lot of snaps on defense just because they're so important on offense. But, Nick, a couple of weeks ago, had a couple of picks in the Bennett game, which, was pretty much an eye-opener for a lot of us. 42-7 at halftime. I don't think a lot of us saw that coming, but, Marist is a team, if they can put it all together, you can certainly see them making a long run in the playoffs.
Yep. And then Sandburg HF, interesting game, a rematch from an earlier game that I actually covered, and HF pounded them. It wasn't pretty in Orland Park that night. And HF is getting healthy, and their only loss was to Bolingbrook, a game I covered in overtime. I think it was overtime.
Right.
Yeah, in overtime. Mm-hmm. And I like HF. I think HF has the capability to go all the way.
Yeah, I remember you writing at the beginning of the year, maybe it was in the summertime, about how HF was going to be relying so much on young kids. And, a lot of times in this conference, that's not a real good recipe for success. But, I mean, it's worked out for them. Isaac Catrara has had a great season as a quarterback. I mean, he's probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the Chicago area, I would say. I mean, I haven't had a chance to see them this year, but I mean, it seems like week after week he does a great job. They've got some other weapons on offense, obviously. Craig Bazia is just a great coach. I mean, he had a great career in Indiana before he came over to HF and kind of, revived that program a little bit. And, it wouldn't surprise me to see them make a run, too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, folks, we are going to go to a Lisa Thomas Salon timeout. When we return, we're going to jump on 7A and try and pick up the pace. You know what I mean? We got to get to 6A, 5A, and dabble in 4A with Evergreen Park as well. So stay tuned. We'll be back.
What teen doesn't want to be in style with the latest trends? What teen doesn't want the hottest cuts at an affordable price? It's time to get noticed with the Lisa Thomas Salon Teen Club, where girls get a cut and style for just $27 and guys get a cut and style for just $17. Get the right look for the right price at the Lisa Thomas Salon Teen Club. Your style, perfect style. Only at Lisa Thomas Salon.
If you're looking for delicious barbecue in the Southland, no one does it better than Bonapit Grill and Smokehouse in Palos Heights. Stop in and try our mouth-watering ribs, tender piled-high pulled pork sandwich with homemade chips, or a perfecta combo in our year-round indoor-outdoor patio. Having a special get-together, Bonapit offers a party room for up to 100 people. Want to watch the big game? Fans can do so on one of our many flat-screen TVs and enjoy $10 domestic bucket specials every Sunday. Bonapit Grill and Smokehouse in Palos Heights. No one does barbecue better. Hi, welcome back to the Coach's Corner Show, brought to you by Beggar's Pizza. If you're just joining us, we are at the Beggar's Pizza location, 127th and Kedzie in lovely, tradition-rich, historic Blue Island, where it is very nice outside right now on this Sunday. And our guest, Mike Clark from the Sun-Times. All right, Mike, got through 8A, my man. Now we're going to hit 7A.
Okay.
Very competitive, obviously. What's your take on the 7A situation?
Well, there's a lot of unhappiness in the Southland about one particular quad. They seeded this in a 16-team north half and then two 1 to 8 quads in the south half.
Which is wrong. Just wrong.
Well, you know, I've written about that before. I'm sure I'll write about it again. But specifically what we're talking about here is that Mount Carmel and St. Rita are on a collision course in week 2. St. Rita, I saw tweeted out their unhappiness with it yesterday. Yeah. You know, and it's hard to be critical of them. You know, I mean, we've said it before. You know, strength of schedule is not taken into account here, and you know, the idea that we talked about in the earlier segment about either Glenbard North or Stevenson being done after the second round, either Mount Carmel or St. Rita being done after the second round, is something that a lot of football people are going to be scratching their head about. But you know, it is what it is. You know, we'll see what happens there. I mean, that's certainly the most obvious thing that strikes me. But I mean, there's a lot of good teams in this bracket. You know, we can go down the list: Carmel, Rita, Wheaton South, Glenbard West. You know, from the west suburbs, you know, there's a lot of teams all over the place, basically. Lake Zurich, I didn't, you know, which was unbeaten until week 9, you know, on and on.
Yeah, it's a travesty that, you know, one of those teams, Rita or Mount Carmel, are not going to be around in the quarters. But the good news on such a situation is, can you imagine that atmosphere in round 2 with these guys with the rematch? And Mount Carmel took it to them big time in the regular season. And I'm sure Rita's licking their chops at a little shot at redemption here.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw the week 9 game when Rita beat Loyola, and it was really a dominating performance. Tommy Mister could not be caught. I mean, you know, Loyola's defense is very good. We haven't seen people run away from Loyola's defense very often. Tommy Mister did it twice in the first 6 minutes of the game. You know, Mount Carmel's defense has been the only defense that shut down Rita and Tommy Mister. They held them to 3 points, actually.
Yep.
You know, and one of the things that maybe we ought to mention in passing here a little bit too, John Kelly, the kicker for St. Rita, pretty good kicker, you know. Wonder if it might come down to that.
Yep, he might be the difference. I mean, Carmel always has good special teams as well, but that could be the difference. And I still believe if Rita's going to pull this thing off and knock off the Caravan, and you know, and it's not like St. Rita has a gimme in the first round. They're playing Willowbrook, whose quarterback is setting all kinds of records and has been outstanding, right?
Well, yeah, Brian Johnson threw for 675 yards, which is a state record against Lions this year. Lions made the playoffs, actually, by winning in week 9. You know, he's having a monster year. You know, he was in the Player of the Year conversation, you know, a little bit earlier this year. Justin Jackson has kind of settled that question, but yeah, I mean, Rita's got a good defense, but I mean, you know, Brian Johnson is a pretty special quarterback, and that is not an easy first-round game for them.
No. Though I still like Rita to get there. That's Rita Carmel thing. It's going to happen. Lincoln Way East, they get a number 3 seed. They open up against Plainfield East, and you know, and pretty much any year in the past 6-7 years, I think East, the path they have, very favorable. I think they get the state. They've just been so inconsistent on offense that I mean, their defense is still stellar. I mean, their defense has been outstanding, but they've been knocked around in the backfield. You know, their 2 guys are hurt. So, where do you see this going?
I think injuries have really hit East, Lincoln Way East, that is, pretty hard this year. You know, I was impressed with them against Bolingbrook. I saw that game. That was you know, they were up going into the fourth quarter, actually. Bolingbrook scored a couple of times in the fourth quarter. One was a defensive touchdown, Tough Borland, who we mentioned earlier. You know, I like East. I mean, you know, Rob Zvonar, you know, always seems to get the most out of his kids. He gets them ready, you know, I mean, this year, right now, it seems like they are really banged up in the backfield. That's tough for them because they want to run the ball this year, and it's a question of who's going to do it. You know, I mean, I think they've got the O-line to probably grind out some of that stuff, and the defense is pretty good. I mean, a lot of it is going to depend on how healthy they are.
Yeah, I would never count out the Griffins with Rob Zvonar. There's no doubt about that. And then you got Andrew, probably in my eyes the most disappointing team in the south suburbs this year, finishing 5-4 with a senior class that was undefeated in its freshman and sophomore. They have just struggled, particularly on defense. They've given up a boatload of points, but still got Jarvian Franklin, Jake Platt. They're dangerous, but they got to go down to Edwardsville. A nice, probably about a 5-6 hour drive to face a #1 seed who's 9-0 on the season.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell with Edwardsville. I mean, they're the best team in the Metro East this year for sure. Only beat East St. Louis by a point, and East St. Louis does not have one of their better teams this year. So it's kind of hard to say. Those teams are always kind of a mystery to us. I mean, with Andrew, as you said, probably not the year that they were hoping to have, and that is a tough drive. But, we've seen some of those Metro East teams get upset in the playoffs in recent years too. So who knows what could happen?
And on a side note, watch out for those St. Pat's guys. All right, they're going to be. They're all right. They're a sleeper here. I see they're a 10 seed and they're 6-3, and they open up against Geneva.
Yeah, I kind of like Pats in that game. I mean, I saw them game 1 against Mount Carmel, which was a tough game for them, 40-0. Not really unexpected, I don't think, based on what Mount Carmel has. But I mean, they've gotten better as the year has gone on. Zach Fuller is a pretty good quarterback for them. They beat Joliet Catholic, and one of the things you kind of look at when you're kind of trying to project the playoffs is, it's not enough to play well against good teams. I mean, do the teams that we're looking at have any quality wins? St. Pat's has a quality win, and that's something to keep an eye on.
Yep. All right, folks, we are going to go to an athletics timeout. When we return, we're going to hit 6A, and we're going to squeeze in some 5A too. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Having surgery or dealing with some type of nagging pain that limits your function? Then get to Athletics. We offer treatment for all types of orthopedic injuries, work-related injuries, and sports injuries. Therapists with over 20 years of experience provide treatment that is efficient and effective. Our 2,000 square foot clinics offer state-of-the-art equipment from HydroTrack, Blankenship, and Biodex. If your doctor suggests physical therapy, then you suggest Athletics, where every patient is treated like a champion.
We came up with a bunch of clever commercial ideas to entice you into trying Beggar's Pizza. We decided to let the food speak for itself.
Hello, boys. I'm a drop-dead gorgeous pepperoni sausage, hold the vegetables deep dish pizza. Just look at my cheese. Your place or mine. Beggar's Pizza. We lay it on thick.
Since 1970, Standard Bank & Trust has been a landmark at the corner of 95th and Western. Now there's a new, state-of-the-art Standard Bank at the same convenient location and better equipped to serve your needs. So stop by and meet our friendly professional staff. They provide personalized service and a wide range of products to help both businesses and individuals reach their financial goals. In the Evergreen Park area and in communities all over Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana, we're your neighborhood bank. Learn more at standardbanks.com. Member FDIC.
All right, welcome back to the Coach's Corner Show, brought to you by Beggar's Pizza. Playoff extravaganza here, folks. And Mike Clark and myself, we're doing an excellent job of not knocking down any of this pizza. It's the aroma, Mike.
It is tough.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yes, it
Doing
is.
a good job, though, man. Doing a good job on this. All right, it's all about discipline. All right, let's hit 6A, Mike. And I think the one that just comes out, screams at you, is the first round tilt between nine-time state champion Providence Catholic and defending 6A state champion Crete Monee.
Yeah, big game in the South, big game for the entire bracket for sure. I mean, I like Providence a lot. I mean, Miles Boykin is pretty much uncoverable by high school defensive
He's
backs.
special.
Dom Lagone, I think, is a really gritty player. I mean, he stepped up for them last year when they didn't have a quarterback. Did a pretty good job as a fill-in quarterback. At the same time, they've had some tough times stopping some good teams.
Yep.
Crete, on the other hand, I think we've talked about this. I mean, the season has played out the way we kind of expected it to play out. I mean, they had a tough game against Bennett. That's their only loss. And they've hung their hat on defense. And their defense is very good, especially in 6A. So, it's a great matchup. Providence's offense against Crete's defense. I know who you like in this one, but I can see it going either way.
Yeah, I mean Providence, that's their strength. There is the offense, and I've covered Crete on a couple occasions against Bennett, which they lost to Bennett, and then on Saturday they played Rich Central. Rich Central blew that game. They had them 20-6 in the fourth quarter and put it on a silver platter and lost in overtime 27-26. So speaking of Rich Central, great season, 8-1. They're hosting Romeoville, a 5-4 team. Favorable, and I think the other team that has a nice path locally is Richards. Richards, they open up against Yorkville. They win that game. They get the winner of Oak Forest Argo. And if they win that game, they get the winner in probably a Lincoln Way North situation, but who knows?
Yeah, Richards. I saw them beat Batavia, which was a very impressive performance. I'm guessing that's probably the best game they played all year because Batavia is very good. They won it on the road too. Richards has some playmakers, and the thing about having playmakers like Richards has is they don't have to make a play every time. They don't have to make it, 4 times out of 5. But that 5th time, if they bust a long run, if they get a defensive touchdown, there's really no answer for that. So, the Bulldogs have been a little bit up and down too. I mean, losing to Evergreen Park, it's
barely beating Eisenhower Friday.
Exactly. I mean, it's a little bit hard to figure them sometimes, but. The potential is definitely there.
Yeah, I do like Providence to go a long way here, and I think Batavia's primed in position to go a long way as well.
Yeah, I like Batavia a lot. 2 years ago, they had a pretty good run in 6A. Last year, they were one and done in 7A, losing to Downers North, and those players and that coaching staff, was really fueled by that, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Crete went through a few years ago. They had a couple of runs to the quarters, I believe. Then they lost to Peoria Richwoods in not a very good game for them at all. Then last year they come back really fired up, really determined. We saw what happened. So, I mean, Batavia could be kind of a similar team in 6A this year.
All right, let's swing down to 5A, Mike. And in particular, the one bracket here, which has, I think, what do we count up? 4 9-0 teams?
We counted up that about half the teams in the field are either 9-0 or 8-1. Yeah, it's the north half of the 5A bracket.
Where our teams reside locally, at least from a south side perspective.
Exactly, and this bracket is just ridiculous. I mean, I would say that this is probably the best bracket out of any of them in any of the classes. I mean, you start out with Montini, which has won this class 4 years in a row. You've got Joliet Catholic, 1 point away from being unbeaten, and they could beat in the quarterfinals. I mean, we talked about some tough second round matchups. That's a tough. Yeah. I mean, that was the state championship game 2 years ago when Ty Isaac ran for 1,050 yards or something like that.
One of the greatest performances in state history.
Real quick, I know we got to. It's like we've got so many teams to mention here. Sycamore, team that maybe people on the south side don't know a lot about. They're the only team to beat Lincoln Way West this year, which was in week 1. They're the only team to beat Canelan this year, which was a few weeks ago. So they're sitting there. Some other teams to keep an eye out for. Nazareth knocked off Bennett and Notre Dame when they were both unbeaten. The very young team, very much improving team. You got, again, Lincoln Way West at the bottom there, and certainly, they've got, 15 starters back from the team that went a long way last year.
So this far.
Exactly. So,
advancing.
That is going to be a tough bracket.
It is. It's crazy. I feel bad for Bremen. Bremen has an 8-1 season, wins the South Suburban Blue, and their reward is an 8th seed. And they're probably going to get a second round if they get past Marion Central, which is not an easy task. I mean, that's tough.
No, Marion Central's a program that's been very solid for a long time. They lost their quarterback, Chris Strevler, who went to Minnesota this year. But I mean, and they don't have a lot of star power this year like they've had in past years. But they're 7-2. One of their losses is to Montini. So I mean, that is not an easy game for Bremen. I feel bad for them to get that as a first round game.
And if they do slip by Marion Central, they get Montini in the second round. So, and then Lincoln Way West, got to mention Javier Montalvo, the running back over there. He's averaging 238 yards rushing his past over 7 games. He's been phenomenal. Hopefully West can make a run. They definitely have the personnel to do it. All right, we are going to go to a Labriola Bakery Cafe timeout. We're going to do a show at Labriola Bakery Cafe probably in December. A little Christmas situation. When we return, Mike Clark and I, very quickly, we'll touch on Evergreen Park and everybody else in 4A.
Looking for a unique dining experience with incredible food? Then check out Labriola Bakery Cafe. Opened by Rich Labriola, Chicago's premier artisan baker, you know they'll have great bread, but you won't believe the rest of their menu. Wood-fired Neapolitan pizzas, fresh pasta, and their world-famous Richie Burger. There's also homemade gelato and, of course, their famous bread. Labriola Bakery Cafe and Neapolitan Pizzeria, conveniently located in the Oak Grove Promenade.
What teen doesn't want to be in style with the latest trends? What teen doesn't want the hottest cuts at an affordable price? It's time to get noticed with the Lisa Thomas Salon Teen Club, where girls get a cut in style for just $27 and guys get a cut in style for just $17. Get the right look for the right price at the Lisa Thomas Salon Teen Club. Your style, perfect style. Only at Lisa Thomas Salon.
If you're in the mood for some of the finest barbecue in the Southland, then Bona Pit Grill and Smokehouse in Palos Heights is a place for you and your family. Whether it's ribs, chicken, brisket, pulled pork, or any other barbecue favorites, Bona Pit serves up a flavor explosion in a championship form. We also offer steaks, seafood, sandwiches, a mouth-watering nachos platter, and salads in a casual atmosphere, with the option of either dining inside or on our heated patio. Watch the big game in our full-service bar or call ahead for pickup. Bona Pit in Palos Heights. All right, welcome back to the Coach's Corner Show, brought to you by Beggar's Pizza. All right, we got to hit Class 4A, Evergreen Park. My guys, Jaquette McClendon, Keyshawn Carpenter, Sean Ryan at quarterback. They're rolling 9-0. What do you think their chances are, Mike?
I like them. Quarterfinals 2 years ago, semis last year. I mean, this could be their year. The one thing, though, they could be seeing a rematch with Phillips in round two. Phillips was a 3-point win for them. Phillips has got some athletes, so I mean that you know, we talked. The theme has been kind of tough second or third round games. You know, that could be a tough second round game for them. But I mean, I like them a lot. You know, you can't argue 9-0. They've done it every time this year.
And if they get to the quarters, they probably going to get to Geneseo possibly, or Plano or someone like that, which is not an easy task either. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed our playoff extravaganza. Thank Mike Clark from the Sun-Times for being our guest again, as he is every year. Have a great week. Get out to some football games. Have a happy Halloween. All right, we give out full-size candy bars in the island. Always remember that. All right, have a great week.